talk, news, entertainment that you won't get anywhere else. KUAWN of and about our community.
This is the last weekend before Christmas, and on Blue Simon City, we're wrapping up our all Christmas blues and Southern Soul program.
Gene Bailey.
We have a very special guest that you will definitely enjoy, and we'll hear from some of the artists that sing.
Thank you so very much. The name of this program is indeed Wave Your Grades. Brother George Walker is the founder of KUAW.org. KUAW stands for Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. Ordinarily, I would be able to say that we are originating from the W.E.B. Du Bois Learning Center. And while indeed that is still true, Brother George Walker has made arrangements for those of us who are privileged to host programs on his network to do so via Zoom. We are in a time and a circumstance where technology has pretty much taken over, but that is a blessing. So thank you, Brother George Walker, for this opportunity. This program today is a very special program with a very special guest whose name is Ricky Kidd. Most people in the Kansas City community, but certainly beyond, are familiar with the name Ricky Kidd. He is going to not only tell us a little bit about his experiences, 23 years of which have been 23 of the most important years. I'll let him tell you about that. But Brother Kidd, please allow me to do this before we start. In the Kansas City community, we have suffered the death of Carol Coe. Former Councilwoman Carol Coe has been an icon in the greater Kansas City community for as long as my tenure here, at least. When I moved from the south side of Chicago in 1980, and when I came to Kansas City, Missouri, Sister Carol Coe was a member of Freedom Incorporated, and I was jealous of Carol Coe that year because 1980 was the first time Harold Washington ran for mayor of Chicago. He became the first Black mayor, and I could not vote for him because I had relocated to Kansas City. And while I was lamenting not having the opportunity to vote for Harold Washington, Carol Coe was in Chicago working for Harold Washington while residing here in Kansas City, Missouri. Carol Coe, a member of Freedom Incorporated, a member with the Black Agenda Group, the Urban Summit, Eggs and Enlightenment, a law professor, and let me just say, Brother Walker, Brother Kidd, that if I had to characterize my experience with Sister Carol Coe, it is a cliche, I know, but it applied directly to her. Don't talk about it, be about it. That was Carol Coe. So I wanted to offer condolences to her family and start with that. And Brother Kidd, Brother Walker, if you have anything to say along those lines, please do.
Yeah, I go ahead. I'm sorry, Brother Walker. What? Yeah, I just would say as well, I'll echo the same thing, extending my family's condolences to Carol Coe's family, and just echoing that notion that don't talk about it, be about it. That's exactly what I've done throughout my 23 years wrongful conviction and the 18 past months since I've been home. We'll get into that here shortly. But in remembering Carol Coe, I think today's spirited conversation is going to speak to that a point that she's made throughout her years of being with us. So.
And I thank you so much. And let me just say, Brother Kidd, also, that you and I are blessed to have a mutual friend in Brother Murad Bahayadin.
Yes.
With the MOVE program, he allows me to serve on the board, Men of Vision and Empowerment.
Yes.
And with Dwana Lee and Love, LOVE, Ladies of Vision and Empowerment. And along with that organization, as well as many others, Brother Ricky Kidd is going to help young people to understand something about anticipating a successful future. That's one thing that is absolutely the subject matter of the show. But Brother Kidd, just in case there are some people who don't know the background, will you please introduce us to Ricky Kidd?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
I'm sorry, is there, I thought I heard an echo. Brother Walker, are we okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Boyd, and thank you all who may be watching today, those who may not be watching today, but may be able to catch up with the episode later. My name is Ricky Kidd, as Mr. Boyd said, born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. The sad part of the beautiful part of my life is that by the age of 21, I was accused of a heinous crime. Double homicide. A double homicide had taken place in the south side of Kansas City. My name had come up through the actual perpetrators trying to flee themselves and send the police down a rabbit hole. They fell for the trick and they went down that rabbit hole, and lo and behold, they end up snatching me up with one of the actual perpetrators. I had never known that we even had a crisis of innocence in America. And then we could kind of unpack what that actually means by definition a little later. But here it is, this 21-year-old. Now, was I always making the right lifestyle choices? Absolutely not. And that's what I share with young minds, the poor choices, poor lifestyle choices in proximity. Careful about the proximity or how close you are to people who do delve into things that you may not be involved in. You can easily catch the stray bullet, so to speak, or you can easily catch the wave current that may have been meant for somebody else, and you get caught up in the wave of things. That's exactly what happened to me, Mr. Boyd and Kansas Cityans. That is exactly what happened at the age of 21. I was picked up February the 14th, 1996. I was questioned and I was released. And I really believe that the police believed at the time that they made a mistake. They had somewhat said that, hey, somebody had dropped your name in a hat. We had an obligation to kind of check you out. If you hear anything, Mr. Kidd, let us know. Have a nice life. You're free to go. I thought, man, I just thought that moment was scary enough to be pulled in for such serious crime. I had dibbled and dabbled in selling marijuana, a little drugs, but I was far, far from anything violent, never alone committing a homicide or a double homicide. So just being picked up alone, and my mom thinking, this is serious business. Hey, no way, you got the wrong person. And I remember telling them that being very adamant and clear that, hey, I know I may not be an angel, but this is not my MO. They let me go. And 3.5 months later, Mr. Boyd, they came back and they charged me with 2 counts of a first-degree murder, 2 counts of armed criminal actions. 11 months later, they found me guilty. I was appointed a public defender who had no time, no energy, no resources to adequately defend such a serious crime. I had no win, W-I-N-D or W-I-N, against the prosecutor's office at that time. Subsequently, we lost. And by the age of 22, I was sentenced to spend the rest of my natural life in prison for a crime that I absolutely did not commit.
February 14th, when Ricky Kidd was 21 years old, this circumstance visited you. But there was a time when indeed Ricky was a kid.
Yeah.
And when you go back to the age of those to whom you are speaking, What were your aspirations and how did life unfold as young Ricky Kid became older Ricky Kid?
Man, it brings me to a great big smile. I remember growing up, I was always bright. I was always, I loved math was one of my favorite subjects. Reading and comprehension was one of my favorite subjects. In fact, I was a grade or two above. I went to Blenheim Elementary School. For
Yes.
those who may remember in the community, Blenheim Elementary School is where I went. I was involved in plays, theater, the little plays that they would put on for Black History Month. I wanted to be a chef. Growing up, I wanted to be a chef. I loved to cook. I watched my mother growing up cooking, and I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to be a chef. One of my uncles, distant uncles who lived in Chicago, Illinois, named George. He would come in town. He would tell me about his activities or his career as a chef. And that really inspired me even more. But the last thing I wanted to be was a nobody. And the last thing I wanted to be was in prison for something that I did not commit. I could tell you that much.
Let me tell you what is impressive to me, and I thank you for it. When I mentioned younger life, childhood, and you indicated that it brings a smile to your face. Let me suggest to you that those of us who have been privileged to get to know you in these past couple of years detect no severe bitterness. And if there were, we could certainly understand and appreciate that. But how is it that you manage to keep on and have such an even disposition?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. And I want everybody to know one of my signature T-shirts that I have out now, I Am Resilience is my company. I Am Resilience. And on my signature T-shirt, I have my signature underneath the title, I Am Resilience. And then underneath that, Mr. Boyd, I have the pen is in your hand. And I kind of want to answer your question with that, springboarding off of that. The pen is in your hand. I realized this. There was so much control over my life that they control, the courts controlled the outcome pretty much. When I went to prison, they controlled when I ate, when I went to sleep, when I purchased canteen, when I could talk on the phone to my loved ones, when I can visit them in person, what type of clothes I wear. They controlled so much. I wanted to ask myself, what part of my life can I control? And I could control my emotions. I could control how I respond to any given situation. And it dawned on me that the pen is in my hand. Yes, I was bitter and angry in the early stages, but bitter and anger had no probative value in my life. I would find myself being angry, tight chest, while the person I was angry at probably didn't even know that I was angry, or probably wouldn't care that I was even angry. And so what I learned how to do, and what I like to try to teach young minds, is how to channel that anger. Turn your emotion, your anger, into passion. That's what I am. That's what you hear coming out as I speak now. This is my passion. I learned how to take my raw anger and make it, instead of making it destructive, I found a way to make it productive. And I think young minds and older minds alike can, there's a strong takeaway when we talk about what to do with the emotions or the feelings we're trying to process at the time.
This is interesting to me from a personal standpoint. As a matter of fact, I mark October 28th, 2012 was when my godson got fully off paper.
Yeah.
After leaving Mobley, October 28th, 2002, having served 10 years from 1992. And Brother Kid, when I received that phone call, on several occasions to which he will admit, he needed to talk and have me talk him through some of what he was having to encounter while he was incarcerated. Some of the challenges, some of those who would attempt to belittle him. And as I say that, Ricky Kidd knows that that is a euphemism for what could be a far more definitive expression.
Yes.
But you are resilient, not by nomenclature, but by example. How'd you do it, brother?
Yeah, well, I was forced to become. There's a piece in my book. I wrote a book called
yes, please tell us. Say it again.
Vivid Expressions, a journey inside the mind of the innocent. And I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to circle around a little bit, kind of those roundabout circles that there's so many of now. When you drive, you go through those roundabouts just to get onto an on-ramp.
I understand. Believe me.
I'll do that real quick, but I'm going to answer your question. Vivid Expressions was actually, it wasn't meant to be shared. Vivid Expressions, and that this answers more directly to your question, I had to process. How did I do it? One of the things that I did, I knew that I had to get it out. And one thing that I like to talk to young minds about is finding a way to connect with what you're feeling, understand what you're feeling, and then get it out so that it doesn't bottle up inside. It is okay. It is not a negative thing to have a negative feeling. It is a negative thing to harbor that negative feeling for too long, particularly when other negative feelings continue to fill up on the inside, and then you have a combustible situation going on. And so what we need to do, young minds and old minds alike, is understand that we have to put them somewhere. We put them somewhere through art. We put them somewhere through spoken words. We put them somewhere through gymnasium activity, through athletic activity. We have to find a way to process those emotions. Even as a boxer, the MOVE organization, Men of Vision Empowerment, one of the things that, yes, it's in boxing. It is not just in learning how to fight, but it is learning how to express, learning how to release. It is a release, allows you to release those things. And so I know for myself, Mr. Boyd, that I had to find a way to release. Writing was my way to release those type of things, understanding that I would drown. The weight of the world, the weight of circumstances can sometimes be so heavy that if you don't offload those things, you can drown metaphorically in a sea of water and have no way of rising back up to the top. And so again, for me, it was dumping off negative feelings, dumping off emotions that had no probative value. Once again, we're using that word. It had sticking to me. There was no probative value. Letting them go and finding a place to put them, that is where I was able to identify and then rise to the level of the resilience that many people see today.
You know, that is so important, and I pray that there are some young people being exposed to what you are saying,
Yes,
because we have to learn how to define such things as strength.
Yes.
And too often we define it as being a physical rather than a psychological attribute.
Yes.
So you are extremely important to this conversation. Let me, I want to get at another question for you. Now you're talking about taking a circuitous route. I'm older than you, and I do it more often than you. But it is interesting how God sets things forth, and we call them coincidence, and sometimes it's fortuitous rather than coincidental. But you mentioned February 14th, 1996, and it happens that Carol Cole passed away February 14th, 2021. That same date rings through. But let me say this, that in reading about Carol Cole, among those who wrote in her behalf was a gentleman, attorney Clinton Adams. And I mention him because he had such sterling remarks for Carol Cole. And I know him to be a person who does not do that lightly, So when you are hearing from him saying such things as he did about Carol Cole, not only is it appreciated, but we understand that it is not written lightly. Ricky Kidd was the subject of a letter to Roy Blunt by a good friend of mine, Alvin Brooks. And when I read the letter and when I began to think about credible people who were advocating on your behalf, now here, I've taken this whole circuitous route to finally get to the question, is there a particular person, are there particular people to whom you find yourself saying a profound thank you through this experience? I know there are many, and it kind of puts you on the spot, but there may be
No, it's fine.
from family outward. So please go ahead.
That's fine. It just drew emotion, trying to hold this emotion together. Absolutely. Absolutely. Certain people had come along in my life during this 23-year and 3-month wrongful conviction to where they were also my floating device. It in transparency and truth, it was really not just one thing. It was not one particular thing. So if somebody asked me what one thing saved you, that I cannot answer that. I cannot. And so there are many things. And one of those other things, we did just talk about one thing, being able to offload those negative emotions. And then the funny thing is, you draw right into the next question, and it was these individuals. It was these individuals, and those individuals start with who I believe you are referring to, Mr. Alvin Brooks. Mr. Alvin Brooks, absolutely. He is a community leader. We've looked to him for decades.
That's right.
For decades.
That's
and
right.
he was the guy, excuse me. He was the guy he was the guy that would be on your tail. Listen, if there was violence or criminal activity in the community, he's coming on the radio and he is using his platform to make sure that you pay the price for the crime that you may have likely committed. And so he is one of those individuals who you just mentioned, do not speak up or speak out for people who are saying, Mr. Brooks, help me, I might be innocent. And so by the very fact that he was willing to stand in the gap on my behalf and speak to all involved and say emphatically that this guy is innocent, it meant the world to me. It still does mean the world to me. And I'll be quite frank, I'm not sure that I may be here right now. I'm not sure that I may be on this screen right now talking to you if it wasn't for Mr. Alvin Brooks, along with other attorneys, Professor Sean O'Brien, attorney Cindy Dodge, the Midwest Innocence Project, and then investigator Dan Growthhouse, the community, Brandon Ellerton, Charles Johnson, many of those individuals, they came and saw me while I was in prison. They were my floating device at times when I needed something to hold on to, or else I felt like I was going to drown. Those were the individuals who came to my aid. But the reason why I say with Mr. Brooks, because although I had an awesome legal team, this awesome legal team had been with me throughout the whole experience. Well, about 10 years in, so the last 13 years and 3 months, they was with me, and we lost 11 times. We lost in front of 11 different judges. This awesome team with these awesome facts, we lost. And so here it is, we're in DeKalb County, we're in rural Missouri. And we're trying to get a fair hearing. We're trying to get a fair hearing where the judge considered the Honorable Judge Darren at Gallatin, Missouri, to be more specific. And Gallatin, Missouri is heavily known historically for being a racist town. I'm in trouble, is what I'm telling myself. I'm in trouble. You're going to send me way out here to have one of these judges hear my case? I'm in trouble. But the Honorable, and I mean Honorable, Darren Atkins, sat and heard that case, and he also heard the testimony of Mr. Alvin Brooks. And I just believe that the level of credibility that Mr. Brooks brings into any space that he enters, it had to weigh heavy on this judge's mind that he had this stellar career as a police officer, that he's won awards from the president, Ronald Reagan, that he's done all these many things. He was our police commissioner here for a space and time. He brings all that to the courthouse. And he testifies emphatically in front of this judge. And so while I give a lot of credit to the lawyers and I give a lot of credit to Judge Darren Atkins, I just happen to believe in my mind that what would make the facts, because everything was the same otherwise. The same awesome lawyers, the same awesome facts, the same awesome circumstances that Ricky Kidd is innocent, except for this time, Mr. Brooks was able to come in based on the type of hearing that we was having and testify. It caused the judge to say, you know what, I've heard enough. He issued on August 15th, 2019, a 107-page ruling that said emphatically that I was innocent and I was free to go. So
that is absolutely fantastic. And as a matter of fact, we could do so much more just talking about Mr. Brooks. Yeah. And I am going to ask at some point that Louis George Walker repeat again when Brandon Ellington's program appears right here on KUAW.org. I think it's on Sundays. But before doing that, in as much as you are speaking to or will be speaking to young people, can you tell them, and please tell us something about the importance of family?
I want to tell you, if I can split it, if we could split the difference, I want to tell the young minds who may be watching the importance of family / support and self-development. Those two are very important. So starting with the importance of family and support, it's necessary. There's a play, I'm a playwright, and there's a play that I wrote while I was in prison. The wardens would allow me to write these plays, grab inmates, rehearse for 4, 5, 6 weeks, and we would put the play on inside the institution. Some guys never even been to a play. It was designed to give them an activity, but also to pull out the best in them. And so, in one of the plays that I wrote, it's titled "Not on My Own," "Not on My Own," and it's about a young individual, a young man who was diagnosed with leukemia, cancer, and he began to alienate himself from his friends, from his God, and he tried to go at it alone. It's a powerful play, but it speaks to, you don't have to have leukemia. You don't have to be wrongfully convicted. You don't have to have a one set particular circumstances to feel the difficult and challenges of life, nor do you have to go at it alone. To go at it alone is, to me, is to go against an army of 1,000 by yourself. You're sure to be defeated. And so I just want the young minds to know that it is important to have family. It is important to have support. There's an acronym that I love to share with young minds. TEAM. Together, everyone accomplish more. I love that acronym. Yeah. TEAM. Together, everyone accomplish more. There's so much more you can do with your life and yourself when you stay close to family, when you stay close to support. Let me illustrate that for you.
All right.
When I came home, August 15, 2019, my thought was, I'm out of here. I don't want to be nowhere near Missouri. Missouri did this to me. I'm out of here. And people said, Ricky, although we understand what you're talking about, and you may want to go to a different state, and you're going to have to stay close. It is best for you to stay close to family and a support group. You can do more. They will be there for you to help you understand things, to help you when you fall, to help you blossom, to help you shine. And so, and it has proven true. I'm not doing bad today, 18 months out of prison. I'm married. I have a baby. I have a business. I have decent shelter. I have transportation. I am in the community. I am making a difference, but I could not have made that difference without family and supporters So I want to qualify what we're saying here by an example. The second thing, if I can answer real quick, as it relates to making sure that you are working on your best self. The reason why that is important is because valued people value others. And you cannot ask valued people like Mr. Brooks, like Mr. Boyd, like Brother Mariah. You can't ask other valued people to step in on your behalf if you're not showing your valued self. One of the things that I would really speak heavily when I was on the inside, I ran programs on the inside, and guys would say I'm innocent or I was overcharged and I deserve something better than the charge, better than the sentence I have received. And I may say, yes, Anthony, that is true. But how have you proven yourself? People want to make sure that what they're investing in has the potential to have an ROI, a return on their investment. And so I talk to young minds all the time, not just today, but all the time about what is your return? What is somebody's return on their investment when it comes to you? And that you cannot just ask people to sow into your situation if you're not willing to sow into it as well. So that's what I would say.
Outstanding. Let me remind those who are with us that this is Wave Your Grades, and for those who are watching for the first time as you follow Brother Ricky Kidd, it is our pleasure, our appreciation, Brother Kidd, and to those who are watching, quote, listening. Wave Your Grades is a program that was conceived with students and veterans in mind, asking American students to strive for excellence in honor of our troops and come on the radio program to show that they intend to do well in honor of those who fight for them, and then having veterans motivate the students.
Wow.
One of the things that is important to both is to have examples set before them of, and now bringing your word into play, what resilience and resiliency really mean. And my man, Ricky Kidd, if somebody ever needs an explanation of making the best of a dire circumstance, for you to have done what you did while incarcerated, that is magnificent from this standpoint. For today's interview, I am eminently interested in what you will say to the young people, what you are saying to the young people, what you have done since being released. But man, when you talk about what you did while there, I say young people learn more by example than they do by instruction. The example that you set while incarcerated probably did more for many of those whom you touched than it did for you. And you are having people contact you now, later, letting you know.
Yeah.
So we're talking to Ricky Kidd. Please, as we get back into the conversation, tell us how we can contact you and what kind of services you render.
Yeah. Okay, great. So I could be followed. There's a link tree, LINKTR period EE/IAR. That's LINKTR period EE/IAR. That is my link tree. This technology, I love the link tree because you can click on one link and it can show you everything, where to go. My YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Twitter, it takes you everywhere. If you want to hear more about the work that I've been doing, it's going to take you there. If you want to hear where's his book at, it's going to take you there. If you want to hear where's the last place he spoke, it will take you there. If you want to hear what does he have coming up in the future, it will take you there as well. So that is LINKTR period EE/IAR. But I want to give you one more, the official website, which is www.resiliencemode.com. That's www.resilience, RESILIENCEMODE.com. You can go there as well, and there's a lot of accompanying information that can really open your eyes to what it is that I'm passionate about. But that aside, as you will assuming go there and during your free time or extra time and find and search for yourself, let me say today, more so to Mr. Boyd's question, I am considered a resilience trainer now. Okay. And so I train in a space of resilience. I'm a motivational speaker now, and I focus on criminal justice reform. I also make sure that whatever we do, that I'm involved in youth empowerment activities.
All right.
So I am a proud partner with the Move and Love organization as well. That is one of my best relationships, partner organization relationships yet. And let me tell you why. Because of the folly of my youth, I was innocent of my crime, but I was guilty of poor lifestyle choices. I was a good guy, but I was misguided oftentimes. And I always thought that if I had no brothers, I had no uncles, I had no Move organization, I had no Mr. Boyd's organizations or platforms. I did not have that. And I cannot stop thinking about if I had the benefit of the programs and organizations that are existing today, I could have avoided the pitfalls that popped me on their radar. I am in no way excusing what the state of Missouri and the prosecutor's office has done to me. There is no excuse. There's a lawsuit being filed. Hopefully they'll be held accountable. But what I am saying is, what were you doing at the time? It's easy to say that the Kansas City Police Department did this, or the Jackson County District Attorney's Office did that, and they did. But we also got to look at this thing holistically. Ricky, what could you have done better? What could you have done to make sure that you wouldn't have popped up on their radar in the first place? And I tell young minds that we have to really analyze the quality of our decision making. We really have to go back in and dissect what type of decisions are we making. I made poor lifestyle choices. And I tell young minds, listen, there's a criminal justice system that needs reform. But until it is actually done, we need to make sure that you avoid going down Prospect or Mungal. If the concrete is being dug up through the whole block of 40th and Mungal, then I need you to avoid going down that street, because it's all holes and you can get sunk into the ground of the criminal legal system. So we have to help our children not only aspire and grow into their full potential and to walk in a purpose, but we also have to help them avoid the pitfalls that lay at every which way, from north to south to east to west. We have to make sure that we guard our children, making sure that they don't go in the wrong directions and get caught up in the claws of our criminal justice system. That's something that's been extremely important to me as well.
This is wonderful. Let me, by the way, I indicated, and I think Brother Walker, that you might have been getting ready to tell us about not only Brandon Ellington's program, but fill us in on KUAW and some of the things we should be looking at and looking for. Mhm. Thank you very much. And we're back with Brother Ricky Kidd. And in as much as KUAW.org is a communications source, one of the things, Brother Kidd, I would like to ask you is how you feel media are doing as it relates to how they treat those who have suffered your plight, are suffering your plight, mass media, social media, as the word gets out. How are we doing?
Yeah, I don't think we're doing good, and I don't think we're doing as good as we could be doing, Mr. Boyd. And I just want to take a few minutes to help people understand. In the early part of the show, before we got started, I talked about wrongful convictions being a crisis in America. And let me just qualify this as well, or rather state this as well. When we're talking about wrongful convictions, we're talking about 54% of African Americans represent wrongful convictions. Over half of wrongful convictions is targeted towards African American individuals. And while I do not know the number of young children, I do know how many young children was in there that I saw for 2 decades and 3 years. Many young men came into, I mean, very young. And so the system is not considering the fact that you're young. That juvenile bill that was just passed, they were sending juveniles to prison as if they was grown men. And so we really have to pay attention to not just wrongful convictions in America, but our criminal justice system has to be a part of the conversation when we're educating and inspiring our youth. With that being said, let me give you a quick educational fact. Wrongful convictions is considered a crisis in America, and here's why. There is 2.3 million individuals inside our prison system inside the US, 2.3. About 5%, conservatively, about 5% is believed to be wrongfully convicted. And for those who may not have your calculators or may not be able to calculate that real fast in your head, I sure wouldn't be if I had not said this over 1,000 times. It's 5% of 2.3 million is about 115,000. 115,000 individuals is believed, 54% of them Black and many of them young, is believed to be languishing inside our prison systems across the country. We have 50 states. If you divided it evenly, although wrongful convictions are not meant to be divided evenly, but for visual and contextual purposes, if you divided it evenly, that would be about 2,000 and some change in each state housing over 2,000 individuals believed to be wrongfully convicted. Let me tell you this. Since 1989, the National Registry of Exonerations, that is headed up by Dr. Samuel Gross, or rather Professor Samuel Gross over at Michigan University, or rather the University of Michigan State. I'm sorry. They've done great work over there. Mark Gotze have done great work. Barry Scheck, Peter Nofield, many of these individuals have done great work over decades, over a span of decades, understanding wrongful convictions and where they actually get the numbers from. So they are to be believed. Most prosecutor associations tend to believe these numbers, the conservative version of them. But let me tell you this, that outfit, the National Registry of Exonerations, has counted about 2,725 exonerations since 1989.
Wow.
Only 2,700 individuals have come home in the last 31 years. Only 2,700, still leaving 100,000 plus languishing in prison. How will we ever go get the 100,000 individuals out of prison if it's taken 31 years to only bring 2,700 home? To your question, is the media doing enough? Are they playing enough of a role? Is social media, is society paying attention enough? No, the answer. It's an astounding, it's an emphatic no, they're not paying attention. And if we continue not to pay attention, because let me give you this too, Mr. Boyd, and to the listening audience, five out of every 100 new cases is believed to be a result of a wrongful conviction. And so you're talking about over 100,000 individuals who's languishing in prison, only 2,700 coming home over a span of 3 decades, and 5 out of every 100 new cases is believed to be a result of a wrongful convictions. We know the number, we know the math, we know what causes wrongful convictions, but we collectively have not done enough, particular when it comes to media and social media.
The voice of Ricky Kidd, a very important voice today. And in your offerings, are there colleges and universities offering credit to those who have the opportunity to hear from you? And if that is not the case, are you pursuing an adjunct professorship or something of that matter? Because what you are teaching us today is worthy of academic credit.
Yeah, man, you must got a bug in my home or something, Mr. Boyd. I don't know how you pulled that. I don't know how you pulled that one off. Absolutely.
Praise God.
I just want to pause real quick. I'm going to answer that question. I want to pause real quick. I want to say this. Careful when we talk about young minds, right? Because we're talking about our children, right?
Yes.
We're talking about our children, 12, 14, 16. But guess what? They're still our children when they 20, 25, 30. They still our children. They're still our children. They're still our children. And so we have to be mindful of that when we talk about mass incarceration, when we talk about misguided charges and sentencing, when we're talking about the stop and frisk in New York, when we talk about racial profiling, when we talk about those conversations must be had, because guess who it is happening to? It is happening to our children, our precious jewels, our precious child that we love and care so much about. This is who it is happening to. And so I wanted to add a little bit more context to the end of what I just said, so people make sure that they fully understand what we're talking about. And even when a show like today or when a topic like today is aired, I want people to understand that we're still talking about children, that we're still keeping the conversation germane to what the show is about. It is a different angle. It is an important angle. And I appreciate and applaud you and the team for deciding to present this angle, because it fits. It fits into the fabric and the fiber of the very thing that we're trying to do with our community as a whole. With that being said, I want to answer your question real quick. Yes. I wish that I was there yet, but I am working on that. I said that you may have a bug in my home or my office somewhere around here, because I am actively working on that. I will share this with you, my friend. And for those who's listened, I'm actually working right now with the Jackson County District Attorney's Office, Gene Peters Baker's office right now. Now, Gene Peters Baker was not responsible for my conviction, but that office was. But when you talk about setting bitterness aside and deciding to become better, I actually reached back and reached out and said, where can we find common ground? Where can we work together? I have a cautionary tale to tell, and I would like to tell it, rather teach it to your office. And I want people to know that she reached back out and she said, yes, let's do that. I want to learn from your cautionary tale. We cannot turn back the hands of time, but we can practice forward thinking as it relates to what can change, whether that's bias, whether that's racism, whether that's a lack of integrity, whether that's a lack of accountability, whether that's policy and procedures. And so this fall, I'll be going in and I'll be training with credits, with those CLE credits that you're talking about, where we can not only learn about what caused wrongful convictions and what we can do and how it impacts. It is a full layout, Mr. Boyd. It breaks down how the cost of a wrongful conviction. There's a subject matter There's a subject line under that where we unpack the actual cost of a wrongful conviction, and it's not just the individual, it's the family who suffer a false belief that the real person has paid the crime. When the wrong person is in prison, the right person is out there committing a crime. It leaves the community vulnerable and unsafe. And then taxpayers foot the bill. Let me say this real quick, Mr. Boyd. Taxpayers foot the bill to a tune of $40 billion with a B over the course of 20 years. Remember that number I told you, 115,000? That is the rough estimated cost of what it costs to keep those individuals in prison over the space of 20 years, the average time in which an innocent person sits before they are released. $40 billion that tax me now. I'm a taxpayer. I just pay my taxes. That taxpayers are paying to when it comes to keeping wrongful convicted people in prison. So all of that is being unpacked.
This is so wonderful. This is the voice of Ricky Kidd. And as you talked about the data, as you offered us the statistics, it occurs to me, here we are in the United States of America. The United States of America, traditionally, until recently, has been called upon by the world to lead the cause of peace and justice. And yet, we are leading the world in incarceration. And when you can capture the imaginations of a world with a police officer's knee on the neck of George Floyd, the world was saying, I can't breathe. Ricky Kidd must have been saying, I can't believe that it would take this long, up to this date, this individual, for a world to respond. This is why you are eminently important, because you speak from experience, not from theory. One of the things important to me on this day, Saturday, February 20th, 2021, having the privilege to have you on the program, is that however much subject matter I might cover, there might very well be something of particular importance from Ricky Kidd. I often refer to it as the parking lot conversation. When you get to the parking lot and you say, doggone it, we didn't cover X. But are there some things, is there one thing that you want to make sure we don't get off the air without your covering?
I just want to say, yes, she knew that I was looking for this. Thank you. I'm going to share a piece from my book, Vivid Expressions, if I can. I know we're running up against time here.
Go ahead.
But one of the things I do want to say, or rather reserve the right to say later, if you will reach out, let's do it together. Together, we get to do this. I say that wholeheartedly. So that Linktree, click on it. There's ways to reach out to me. info@resiliencemode.com. My email is on there. I am open for business. Rather, let me rephrase that. I am open for change, and together we get to make that change. We cannot do it alone. You can't tell the youth that family is important, that support is important, and then you turn around after you tell them that and then go try to tackle a mountain by yourself. We get to do this together, Kansas City, and we can do this together. We really can. Reach out. Let's connect. Let's push. Let's be the difference that we actually are trying to see in our community. I challenge everybody, don't let a person that's been gone almost a quarter century come home and in 18 months have more fire and more zeal than you. This is our community together. This is our children together, and this is our problem to solve together. We get to do this together, and I believe that we will. I'm a hopeless optimistic, and I believe that we will. I want to read a piece.
Please do.
That's what I would like to leave on air before we go. And it is, give me 1 second to fumble.
No problem at all. I think about whether or not you are old enough to have heard of a brother named Michael Jackson. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but there was an entertainer whose name was Michael Jackson. Ever hear that name? Yeah. And in his song, Man in the Mirror.
Yes.
One of the refrains was make that change. And you are causing us to look in the mirror and work together towards making that change. Please go ahead.
Yes, this piece is called, just give me 1 second. I know I'm pushing up, but I want to
Not at all. Take your time.
I want to make sure that I get this one for the youth, particularly to understand.
Outstanding. And the name of the book is Vivid Impressions by Ricky Kidd.
Yep, it can be found on Amazon.com.
Outstanding. All right. Vivid Impressions.
This is called A Country Lost and Gone Astray.
Uh-oh.
In a quick context, when even though I was going through what I was going through, I was still cognitive of what the rest of the world was going through as well. So there would be a moment I would cry for myself, and there would be another moment I would cry for others. It's no wonder that my passion is what it is today. And I think you will see in this piece here.
Please.
Looking at the world from my prison cell window pane, the world is feeling pain. Many things have changed. Tragedy is dominating our news, while violence has made its way to our schools. Politicians making promises, but they're nothing more than a ruse. Unamused, feeling unenthused, feeling like a refugee. Who feels like walking in my shoes? Our justice system is a subterfuge. Subterranean deals keep us subject to mass incarceration, Black annihilation, false prosecution without reparation. We rather face amusement than to face our nation. With these mass shootings, it got me contemplating. We should be conversating, yet we congregating. We should be taking action, yet we steady laughing. They say everything isn't as simple as black and white, but that all depends on you, Black or white. They shouldn't have killed Michael Brown, whether wrong or right, nor Eric Gardner or Tamir Rice. Police brutality is finally coming to light. That's why we come in to fight. We gotta stay in the fight. No more being polite. We gotta demand some change. We gotta solidify our demands and stop settling for change. Too many guns on our streets, too many suicide teens. Too many times have we seen too many broken up dreams. Our babies are dying while our soldiers are dying. Brave, we know they brave, putting it all on the line. Billions being spent on a war that's not ours. They coming home with scars, and then we leave them to starve. Homes they barely got, some even sleeping in cars. Have we come a long way, or have we gone too far? Terrorism abroad is now in our backyard. Too much is on our plate while we're losing sight of what's at stake. We must go on high alert before we discover it's too late. Destruction is standing at the gate, and if we wait, we won't escape. We're just watching as we toppling a country lost and gone astray.
Ricky Kidd, Vivid Impressions. You said, have I been to your house and have I implanted something so that I would know what you were contemplating? I put that question back at you. Have you been around here somewhere anticipating that I would talk about veterans and their sacrifices? And here in your words, no better tribute can be made than helping us to be serious about who we are, because they are seriously undertaking their duty. Unbelievable. You and I both are thanking Move Incorporated, Love Incorporated, Men of Vision and Empowerment, Ladies of Vision and Empowerment. Ladies and gentlemen, wave your grades. Thanks, Brother Ricky Kidd. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. God bless you, Mr. Boyd. God bless you all.
God bless you. Whew. Louis George Walker. Oh, man. Wow. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Ricky Kidd. Thank you, Louis George Walker. Gracious God and wonderful Wanda.